This is EuroNews with the news on the half hour.
At least 60 people are now known to have been injured when a passenger train derailed in Russia. 4 carriages of the train travelling from Moscow to St. Petersburg left the tracks at around 11:30 p.m. local time. There were more than 230 people on board. 20 injured passengers have been taken to hospital for treatment. There are no reports of any fatalities. A spokesperson for the Russian rail network said the accident was due to outside factors and suggested an explosion had not been ruled out. International experts have travelled to Georgia as part of an inquiry into Tbilisi's claims that a Russian aircraft violated Georgian airspace and dropped or fired a missile. Georgia accused Russia of dropping the missile on its territory and requested a special meeting of the UN Security Council to discuss what it termed an act of aggression. The experts' final report on the incident should be issued in several days. Shota Utiashvili is from Georgia's Interior Ministry.
We have the representatives of 4 countries, the US, Sweden, Lithuania and Latvia, all of them military experts, and we think by the end of their work they will issue the impartial, independent report of what happened on August the 6th.
Right.
The trip comes just days after a Russian official, who's a leading contender to become president next year, accused Georgia of faking the incident. Sergei Ivanov, a former defence minister and first deputy prime minister, accused Tbilisi of staging a theatrical show.
The 2 South Korean hostages released in Afghanistan are undergoing medical checks after their 3 weeks in captivity before being flown home. The 32 and 37-year-old women were apparently freed on the orders of Taliban leader Mullah Omar after falling ill. But Red Cross officials have said they're in relatively good health, although very emotional. In Seoul, there were no celebrations by the families of the 2 released women. My heart is heavy for the remaining hostages, said the mother of one. I'm sorry for the government and all the people having to deal with this, said the brother of the other. The 23 South Korean evangelists went to Afghanistan as volunteers. 2 have been shot dead. The others remain captive as the Taliban demands a prisoner swap. Some in Seoul see the volunteers as troublemakers. I don't think the released hostages will be welcomed by the nation, said this man. The church trip went ahead against the advice of the government in Seoul. It's now negotiating directly with the Taliban.
The US president has paid tribute to Karl Rove, the latest senior aide to resign from his team as the clock ticks towards the end of the Bush era. Karl Rove is moving on down the road, the president told reporters at the White House, describing his most trusted advisor as a dear friend. Explaining he was quitting for the sake of his family, Rove in turn had warm words for George W. Bush.
At month's end, I will join those whom you meet in your travels, the ordinary Americans who tell you they're praying for you. Like them, I will ask for God's continued gifts of strength and wisdom for you in your work, your vital work for our country and the world, and for the Almighty's continued blessing of our great country.
Rove has been a controversial figure. A special prosecutor investigated him over who leaked undercover CIA officer Valerie Plane's identity in a scandal linked to the Iraq War, but he was never charged. Separately, Democrats had Rove in their sights over why several US prosecutors were fired, amid claims it was politically motivated. But the president rejected a subpoena for Rove to appear before a Senate probe into the affair.
Poland's President Lech Kaczynski has been swearing in new ministers after sacking 4 members of his twin brother's cabinet. The move brings to an end the ruling coalition and paves the way for early elections. And Prime Minister Jaroslaw Kaczynski, now heading a minority government, described elections as not far off as he announced the reshuffle on television. Those fired were from junior coalition parties, the Nationalist League of Polish Families and the rural-based Self-Defense Party. The latest crisis began over the sacking of Deputy Prime Minister Andrzej Lepa amid a corruption probe. Parliament, currently on its summer break, reconvenes later this month.
Kayseri Milletvekili Turkey's ruling moderate Islamist party, the AK, has resubmitted the name of the Foreign Minister Abdullah Gül for the country's presidency. The nomination will anger the country's secular elite, including many senior army officers. Some say Gül's record on religion and the fact his wife wears a headscarf means he's unsuitable to be president and would erode the separation between religion and the state.